I may have caught myself up in a little bit of something.
The conversation where Hugo reveals that to Kendall was so good and really telegraphed a lot in terms of Kendall remembering that sense of power that he can have.
I can't recollect. Oh, Hugo.
The way that Kendall snaps into like, I know exactly what to do here. I know what not to say to this idiot, slips that little thing into his pocket.
Yeah.
And then it comes right back around at the end of the episode. And you're like, woof, okay, there he goes.
I've just been handed a piece of paper, Jerry. It has a list.
Jerry, Carl, and Frank decide they're going to reveal this information to the siblings. They're not going to try to hide it or flush it down the toilet. They're going to actually tell them. It seems to me the calculation is made because legally it's not really enforceable, and also the family doesn't have majority board control anymore. So it's like it wouldn't necessarily impact them that much anyway. That being said, it does clearly have some impact on the events.
I also wonder if they knew that it would divide the siblings. They were definitely very wary of having all three of them
against the Gojo deal.
Yeah.
Here's the big question, Kim Renfro, is do you think Logan was trying to underline Kendall Roy, or was he trying to cross out Kendall Roy? They show a close-up of the piece of the document at the end of the episode.
I have.
And it is really well done because it is done in such a way that is very ambiguous. And the pen stroke clearly starts as an underline, and then by the end of the word Roy, it is a crossout. It is like through the word Roy, like middle of the word Roy.
Underlined or crossed out?
Shiv.
And I am curious if you have any opinion on whether it was an underline or a crossout.
I'm leaning towards underline.
Given
where it starts and the fact that it's not like he didn't cross it out and write something else.
Yeah.
And if the point was to like convey a decision, but I don't know. I agree. It is so perfectly done.
Yeah,
in that
it's really well done.
I can't tell, but I don't know.
Well, Kim, I'm going to be a raging asshole and tell you what my opinion is, which is to say, you're not supposed to be able to tell, and also that is the point of the episode.
Yeah.
In the sense that this episode is about trying to make sense of someone's wishes who didn't convey them in any clear form, and how chaotic and ambiguous and unsettling that whole process is. And am I making the right choice? And am I making the right decision? And is that what they would have wanted? And trying to live with that. The uncertainty is a feature, not a bug. I know that's not a revelatory observation, but yeah, it's a fun mental exercise to try to think like, what did he really think?
The underlining or the crossing out and the unknown age of the document isn't essentially moot.
Putting aside the completely asshole-ish response, I lean towards underline as well, just because of where it started. If
I was trying to cross out my heir's name,
yeah. If it was like a millimeter higher in terms of where that pen stroke started, I would feel maybe different. But it starts out as an underline, and maybe,
props to the props department.
Yeah.
whoever did that repeatedly on copies of this paper until it looked perfectly ambiguous.
Indeed.
Way to go.
You're the worst of both worlds. Different, but the same.
That plays, Shiv. It does with the board.
Kendall manages to convince everyone that he is for the Gojo deal. That is significant because mere episodes ago, I don't think that was true.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think it was true that he was for the Gojo deal. So I am curious, like, what kind of game is Kendall playing at right now, right? What is he trying to achieve? He is now in charge, but to do what? Because 2 episodes ago, he was trying to sabotage. That was my understanding of episode 2. So
yeah, I think it was, but it also, even in that episode, that decision was confusing. That decision wasn't entirely...
It was not fully explained.
It was not fully explained. And so...
I put out a theory for it, but, I don't think it's been clarified in the show at all. So
no, and I think that's why I'm having a hard time telling if... Like, when Kendall was talking to Stewie, I did kind of feel like that was him being his most...
genuine? Yeah.
Like, upfront about what he was feeling and why he was doing that. Because like I was happy that we saw so many people respond to Kendall being like, what do you mean you want to be CEO, dude? Like you are so close to getting out, and that's what you've been wanting for so long.
This is the biggest excuse he could ever have to get out.
Yeah.
Right?
You seem so well. You really want back in?
So what is his end game? I'm really curious.
It feels to me like a little bit of a backslide of he's grieving, as all of the siblings are, and for whatever reason in this moment, the discomfort of actually having to go do his own thing and try something new and like break out of this cycle, that's a crappy part of healing. Is when you hit that point of discomfort where, oh, now all the things that you're doing that are better for you maybe in the long run are actually unfamiliar to you and to your nervous system or to your brain. And so like there are times, I've experienced this with like depression and stuff, like there are times where like it feels more comfortable and safe to stay in the sort of like holding pattern cycle, even if you know that it's not the best thing for you. And I think that it felt to me like that's what Kendall is going through in this episode, where it's like he's unmoored, he thought that he was getting out, he thought that he was like had no more relationship with his father, and then his father dies and he's thrown right back into like, oh god, what is my dad's legacy? Am I living up to my dad's legacy? Am I the best version of the man my father raised me to be, type of thing? And he just like slips right back into his like season 1 Kendall mode of like, oh, I know how to be a ruthless business killer like my dad, so I'm going to go do that for a little bit of time here. And I don't think that's good for him.
That's very plausible, Kim. Alternate theory.
Yeah.
Alternate theory. He wants to dismantle his father's legacy.
Right. Like it's a vindictive, it's a vengeance thing.
Yeah, he wants to lay waste to Waystar Royco, run it in the worst way possible, run it with an iron fist that kind of completely destroys the company to get back at his father for making him feel so terrible. That's also a possibility, I have to say.
No, so. I agree with you. And I think that, again, it's something that I really admire about Jeremy Strong's performance of Kendall Roy, is that there's an unpredictability to his mood at all times, where like you aren't sure if he's in a place of like, oh, I'm trying to get better and I want to be a good guy and I don't want to be like my dad, or I'm going to do what my dad would have done, but just to his reputation. And like, that's literally what he says to Hugo, right? Is like, it's what my dad would have done. Go burn it. Like, go burn his legacy.
You know the stuff.
What stuff?
The bad dad stuff.
The episode ends with Kendall flashing a smile. And I have to say, this is the creepiest smile that Kendall has ever given on this show. And I thought it was an amazing way to end the episode, because we have rarely seen Kendall Roy smile at all in the show. And when he does smile, he's kind of joking. He's often insecure. He's often like, hey, I'm trying to make Lawrence from Volter like me. You know, I'm joking around. Or he's joking with his siblings. He's making fun of his siblings.
Yeah.
This is the first time when I've seen Kendall smile in an assured way, in a way that is commensurate with the power that he has. And it felt like I was watching a true villain being born. Not just someone with the power, but with the will to destroy people's lives to achieve his own ends. And I thought it was a really chilling way to end the episode. What did you think of the ending of this week's episode of Succession?
They've been ending on Kendall a lot. The final shot of him in last week's episode was also...
Yeah, very powerful.
Very powerful. And I think that if you compare that moment, him standing in the moonlight on the tarmac watching his dad's body drive away, to standing alone by himself inside his dead father's house, I completely agree with you, spot on, about it being chilling in a way that is like discomforting.
Maybe this whole thing is Breaking Bad with like Kendall being the center. It's like, maybe that's what the arc of the show is going to be, is about how Kendall went from kind of ineffectual to dominating, but also like kind of pretty, if not evil, then at the very least amoral.
Right. Like, you know, Logan has fully stripped him
Yes, exactly.
of his ability to connect with his emotions.
Any humanity left, right? Like maybe that will be the ultimate arc. When he flashed that smile, I felt like maybe that's the ultimate arc of the show. Hey everyone, David Chen here. Thank you so much for watching that video from Decoding TV. If you want to get an audio version of the show, all you got to do is go to podcast.decodingtv.com. And if you want to support what we do, get ad-free episodes of the podcast and also bonus episodes of the podcast, go to decodingtv.com and become a paid member. Of course, you can also like and subscribe for more. We appreciate it. Thanks. See you later.